Hey, good evening, everyone. I guess it's evening now. Um, my name is Jenelle Riley. I'm so thrilled to welcome you to this Q&A with one of the best movies of the year, Lion. At this point, please join me in welcoming a woman who has established herself as not just one of the best actresses working today, but really of any generation. She is, of course, a three-time Oscar nominee whose range of films include everything from Moulin Rouge to The Hours to Rabbit Hole. Please welcome Nicole Kidman. Congratulations on an amazing movie. I've been saying...
I wish Garth was here and Dev. Garth is in the middle of shooting another movie, Mary Magdalene, with Rooney. So, but I know he would send his love. And but I'm here, and
not too shabby.
I'm glad to be here, really. So.
I really do think they need to invent a new system for rating movies based on the ugly cry face, because more so than any other movie this year, I felt so bad for the person sitting next to me because the contortions my face were making, and I was trying not to be audible, but it is. Did anyone not cry at the end of this movie? Someone didn't cry? I was gonna. You have no heart. Yeah. So I don't know if that was the reaction you had when the script came to you, or what your response was.
I mean, for me, when I first read the script, I was just beginning to end. I was sort of I didn't realize it was a true story. So then when I found out it was true, it was even more impactful. But I probably, because I was reading it, not having the vision of what Garth was going to do, I read it for Sue and through her eyes, and really responded to it as a mother, obviously, as an adoptive mother, and also just the magnitude of what he actually did, Saroo. It was just astounding. But I think what Garth has done with the film is pretty extraordinary, because I think he really lifted it, and he's a first time. This is his first
feature
film.
Yeah. Although he has directed episodes of Top of the Lake, which are fantastic. And is he Australian as well?
He is Australian.
So did you already know him, or?
I didn't. I'm very, very close to Jane Campion, and so she has a pretty good eye for picking people. I actually just did Top of the Lake with her, and she teamed up with another director, Ari, who I think you're all going to fall in love with too eventually when you see his work. But yeah, she found Garth and gave him an opportunity, and then it led to Lion, and it's great when that happens. So
I was trying to think. I'm not sure, because when was the last time you used your own accent in a movie? Maybe Dead Calm? Has it been that long?
I did a first-time female director in Australia. I did a film that no one would have seen because it didn't really find an audience, but it was a great thing. I loved supporting her, and that was called Strangerland, and I got to be Australian in that. And then I did that's nice. But I love finding new directors and being at this stage of my career and being able to sort of throw my support behind them, and so I also then went back and did Top of the Lake with my Australian accent this year as well. So I actually got to do Lion and then Top of the Lake. I mean, they're totally different characters, because one of them's Jane Campion, and she wrote the role for me, and that's it's a crazy role. People will be shocked, but this was fantastic, because Sue actually wanted me to play her.
Wow. Well, of course she did.
I wouldn't think I was. I mean, you see the red hair at the beginning, and then you see her at the end of the film, and we really tried to. I mean, we have sort of similar colouring and everything, but we also just really clicked, and I'm very close to her, and I really love her, and so to be able to put her her essence up on screen this way was an honour for me. And I got the most beautiful email from her like just a week ago. And so I'll be going back to Australia and seeing her there. But it's good when the family is embracing of the film, which is about their life. So it's a relief, but it's also, she's a very, very special person, as they all are. Saroo, all of them, Mantosh.
I mean, obviously you've played real people on screen before. You probably didn't get to meet with Virginia Woolf, but yes, you got a Ouija board.
In the spirit world.
But I mean, as great as that must be, because you can draw on real life, is there a part of it that's intimidating and you feel this added responsibility and pressure?
Well, with Sue, because we were shooting in Tasmania, which is where they lived, they kept saying to me, "Oh, can Sue and the family visit the set?" And I'd be like, "Oh, please no," because I'll be shy, actually. Part of my thing as an actor always is breaking through the barrier of shyness, because I have so many ideas and so many things I want to do, and I always find that I have to break through shyness because it's my natural... I'm introverted naturally, and so therefore, but I'm extroverted inside, if that makes sense. So if I can break through that, then I can act. But when I'm the good girl and well-behaved, I'm not as good as an actor, if that makes sense. So I said, please, if she's there, I will feel like I can't, like I've got to be precise and good, and I won't be able to release. Right. So I'd say, tell her to come afterwards and we can hang out. And she would. And so that was nice. So because the idea of her sitting at the monitor watching me play her would not, I just couldn't do it. And I'm sure other actors could, just not me. And then she really understood that, because she's got that sort of very nurturing, warm side to her.
When you met her, was there anything that you picked up on or that she said to you that sort of made its way into the performance or even the script that might not have been there before if you hadn't sat down with her?
I think as an actor, you're never sure how it's going to come through, in the same way that when you absorb information. So however it's going to... I'm a huge believer in just doing the work prior and then just letting whatever happens on the day happen, because if you've done all of the work prior, you're going to be ready. So I just sat with her and absorbed her stories and her life. I'm not sure how it all ultimately came through, but I could feel her love of both her boys, and I really wanted that to be strong. And the thing is, when you're in a supporting role, you have limited screen time, so you have limited scenes to put a wealth of information into. So you try to, so everything is so important, you know. And so scenes like the dinner, where I have both my boys sitting there, those scenes are incredibly important. So I would ask her a lot about how she felt about Mantosh, and when Mantosh arrived and after they'd adopted Saroo and they knew Mantosh was coming. And all of that would have to be condensed. Yeah. But you hope that it feeds into the small amount of time you have, and ultimately results in, you know, hopefully a layered performance.
The scene that really affects me, and I'll try to get through talking about it without tearing up, is when she says she could have had children, and you know she chose to adopt. And I was just curious if that was something, a conversation she actually did have with Saroo that was in his book, or if that was something that, you know, came out when they were working on the script. And you know, it's such a great scene and such a great moment. But was it a difficult scene to shoot?
It wasn't difficult because it was so beautifully written, and it was very much Sue. And I think, you know, that's probably the thing I related to most when I read the script, was that that story that she tells about the vision of the brown-skinned child that she knew was in her future. And and also I think what that ultimately says, I think that scene is she says it's not about biological or adopted or anything. It's just, I'm your mother.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that entails, ups and downs, whether I could have a biological child or not, none of that matters, because I was just destined to be your mother, and I am your mother, and I will always be your mother. And that just like, that for me is what the whole essence of the film is about. And then also the moment where she holds his face when he's going to go and find his birth mother, and she says, I can't wait for her to see you and see how beautiful you are. Because I think as an adoptive mother, and I can only speak for myself, you love the birth mother.
Yeah.
Whether you meet the birth mother ever or not, you love the birth mother, because the birth mother is the child as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the birth father. But it's all, and it's a really hard thing to talk about, but it's all intertwined. And it's love, really. It's just love.
You are not helping me not tear up.
But I feel strongly about that, and I know Garth did as a
Mm-hmm.
director, and it's probably why we just went. That's why I wanted to make it with him, because you don't see that often, and it's a really strong pull. It's a strong pull, and Sue very much had it.
Yeah.
I have it. I mean, it's a very strong part of. And families are made up of so many different things now. Modern day families, and this is a modern day family. Mm-hmm. They always say it takes a village.
And I'm curious, like, from an acting point of view, to see that on the page. I don't know if it's like a 2-page monologue, a 1-page. I mean, did he just shoot it and sort of let you go, or was there a lot of starting and stopping and getting?
No, the way he shoots is very fluid.
Yeah.
But you know, I have the thing where you go, oh gosh, I hope I can be there and be as truthful and as authentic for Garth. I mean, so much of it is just trying to find the reality and the truth, and therefore having the time to do it. When you're making a low budget film, and this was a low budget film, you have limited time, so you've got to come in and you've just got to go.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have days to prepare, you don't have hours, you just have now, quick, because this afternoon we're going to be doing a different scene. You better get it. And and I always say, as an actor, it's fantastic because you get to work in many different ways.
Yeah.
You know, you do stage, and every night you got to come and you got to deliver, and it's 8 shows a week, and you've got a whole audience that has travelled from all over, and you better give them a great show. And then you're working on a low budget film, and it's like, quick, grab this, grab that, and you think, oh, if only, but it is what it is. And you have to show up, and you have to be ready, and you have to go. And then you'll be on other films where you're sitting around for 3 days waiting to shoot a scene. And there's just many, many different ways in which you have to discipline yourself. And it's emotional discipline, and it's technical discipline, and it's, you know, that's what we do as actors. I'm sure there's a lot of actors here. But we have to learn that. We have to learn it early, and we have to apply it consistently no matter where we're at in our career. And I love that. It's still what I love. I love showing up on the set or on stage in the rehearsal hall, and we're all there to try and work together and create a little bit of magic, hopefully.
And did
But it is.
you have such amazing chemistry with the 2 actors who play your son, Dev and Sunny. With Sunny, it's different because you're meeting him. The characters are meeting, so it's not like you have to have this history. But you know, I don't know. I believe he was. How old was he when you guys did this movie? He's phenomenal.
He's so good. I think he was 7, 6. Yeah, it's very, very, very. But he didn't speak English.
Oh wow!
So, but he's just divine, isn't he?
Yeah.
I was like, oh. And he came in and I'm like, okay, hi. No, that doesn't go down. He's like, so Garth is brilliant. He said, we're going to have a lot of rehearsals. So we had a good week and a half of rehearsal, which is a lot for a film like this. But it was imperative that we had that rehearsal. And I was like, okay. And he goes, and Nicole, you're going to play cricket with him. And soccer. And I'm like, oh, uh-oh. Because that's the way Sonny, his name's Sonny, will relate to you. I'm like, oh, great. I'm hopeless. So I'm out there, okay, let's go. And throwing the ball around and trying to win him over, And he was tough.
Yeah.
And he kind of liked the men better than he liked me. Just
give him time.
His nature.
Yeah.
I'd be like, soft, Sonny, come on. Generally, like, punch me. I go, no punching. Soft. But we slowly got our rhythm. And then, by the time we were shooting, he would let me pick him up. And the little boy playing Mantosh, who, and this is really, really sad, when he had hair initially when I met him. And he was just so warm, but they shaved his head in the trailer when we were sitting in the makeup trailer for the film, and they shaved his head and he had the scars. And I just started crying.
Oh, those weren't makeup?
No,
oh.
They're not makeup. So those two little boys, not actors, coming all the way from India to Tasmania, and did a spectacular job.
Mm-hmm. They're
right?
amazing.
Yeah. And all of that work with him where he was, we shot so much more than is in the film, and he would do it, and then he would jump up in my arms, and the English word he learnt was mama.
Oh.
So it was just like, forever to remember that. Yeah. It's really... Those things are very, very... that's when you're working in some sort of sacred place, because those things are special, and those boys have been really taken care of. They actually haven't had them here doing the publicity and all of those things, which I think is really good. They may come over for a little bit. Sonny might, but I'm not sure. But I just think it's very protective and respectful of who they are. So, has
he seen the movie? Has he seen himself on the big screen?
No,
might be for the best.
I think they will show him.
Yeah,
at particular. Garth is very much the leader of all of that, and the producers, Emil and Ian, who are really gentle souls. So.
Did you have a similar rehearsal process with Dev? Because at that point you've been this character's mother for a while, and you really do feel like family. Like there's a very natural chemistry, and I don't know if that was instantaneous, if you knew Dev in advance.
I was immediately Dev's mother. I think I just related to him very in a maternal way, and I probably still do. We were in London on the red carpet together, and I was sort of all dressed up, and he was standing next to me, and Garth and Rooney weren't there because they were shooting in Sicily, so it was just Dev and I, and I'm like standing there, and I felt so weird because I'm like, I'm your mum.
Well, it's probably weirder
yet he
for
was
him.
in a suit, and then it was all sort of weird. And he had his whole family there, and his dad was like, "She plays your mother," which I was kind of flattered by that he was shocked at that.
Yeah.
But I have to say, Dev's grown into he's a man.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was. I was asking backstage, when did he become so hot?
I'm like, I don't notice that.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But no, and he's fantastic, and you two really do feel like you have this familial bond. And I should mention David Wenholm as well, who plays your husband. I mean,
Well, David I've known since I was 14.
I was curious. I didn't want to assume all Australians knew each other, but
No, don't assume that. But strangely enough, David and I went to there was this acting school that you could go, that we found out about, that was called Phillip Street Theatre, and I was like 13, and I would catch 2 buses and a train to get there on a Saturday morning, because I was just like, I want to go. And my parents were, not going to drive me. They were like, you want to go to acting school, you get yourself there, which was actually really good because it meant I had to really want to go. And David was there. And David and I would do not just sort of theatre classes where you'd read plays and things, but also we would do fencing.
Oh, wow.
So we would fence together. We would do history of drama, which we would fall asleep in, but mime work, which has proven to be very helpful.
Yes.
But all of this together, which was amazing. Wow. And I saw him do he's one of the great sort of Australian actors that still hasn't had the massive break that should have a massive break, so hopefully he will. And he did an Equus that was superb. Wow. Yeah.
He played the boy?
Mm.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And I remember watching him from the back. I still tease him about it because he was naked in it.
Oh, yes.
But he was fabulous.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that play, but very good play.
I do want to take some questions from the audience, and I'll try not to mispronounce anyone's names. This is a question from 2 people, Riley and Hilty. Took 2. Are you guys here? Oh, you're over there? Okay. Are you twins? Is that the deal? Or? Oh, okay. Well, it's kind of a 2-part question, so it makes sense. It says, you have had such an accomplished career with such a variety of roles. Is there anything you haven't done that you want to do as an actress or possibly producer or director?
Gosh, I mean, so many things. This past year, I went back to London and I did a play, and I'm now got the bug to do more theatre. So I loved it, and it was it was absolutely terrifying because I hadn't been on stage in 17 years. But
since Blue Room?
Yeah.
Well, I saw that.
And I kind of have this nature which is just a very spontaneous, overthink things, and then I'm in it and I'm like, oh, what did I do? So it's been a good thing, but it's also puts me in positions where I'm like, oh, completely overwhelmed. But I'm so glad I did that ultimately, because if I'd thought about it, I would never have done it. But it proved to be just a great thing at this stage in my life to just get out there. And I fell in love with the interaction actually between an audience. Again, I was able to, because on film you don't get that. You don't get that immediate response, and you also don't get to, beginning to end, create the performance. So I would love to do another play, and I was looking at bringing Photograph 51, which was the play in London, to Broadway, but I have 2 little girls, and I asked them and they said no. I have to say they control a lot right now, because it's very hard on kids when you do theatre, because you're not there for bedtime. So that played a big part of it, and it's hard. I mean, being a mother and being an actress, because you're constantly, and people always say, how do you do it? How do you balance it? Sometimes it becomes imbalanced and it needs to go back into balance. Mm-hmm. And, that's one of those things where I just had to go, okay, I'm not going to get to do this on Broadway because I've got to raise a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old. But that's just the way it is. So hopefully at some stage in the future I get to go back and do, if not that, something else.
I saw Blue Room, and I remember that. By the way, you were naked in that. Since
I wasn't naked in photograph 51. I was emotionally naked.
Since we had to point out that David wasn't equus, I feel it's only fair. I can't believe that was 17 years ago. That was such a fantastic performance, and I don't mean to imply that you've been lazy or anything during this time, but what did take you so long? I mean, raising family is probably a big part of it.
Yeah. And I don't live in New York. I don't live in London.
Sure.
So to transport my family and live in those cities, that's a big ask. You know, I live in Nashville, so it takes a lot to make choices to do those things. And I think when you're younger and you don't have all the family commitments, you can sort of be far more jump in and try many different things. And now it's more, I have to be more measured.
You could kickstart the Nashville theater scene.
We do have a Nashville Children's Theatre there.
There you go.
I'd love to do a pantomime there at some stage.
A question from Lisa Marie Collins. Wants to... Oh, wait, right down the other. What advice would you give an expiring... Whoa, that's a very different line of questioning. Sorry. What advice
Keep at it. It ain't over till it's over.
It might be the same advice, actually, because it's for an aspiring actress in the business for longevity.
For longevity? Keep at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, truly, because I think a career has its ebbs and flows, but if you're pure in your motivations, and I mean that as if it's truly in you, in your blood, that you want to act, that's going to be the thing that keeps you going. Because you either love it or you don't. And it takes a lot, and it takes a lot of rejection, and it takes a lot of fortitude, and then it's sort of, but the best thing is, you know, you're going to fail, and that's okay. It's okay to fail and fall flat on your face because you can get right back up. And I think that's the best thing you can learn, because even when you're doing, say, a live performance, even when you're doing takes, as you said, you do it, you do another take, and you keep at it, but you never give up. And there's times when you think, gosh, I'm not getting it, the director's not, something's not happening. And as soon as you, but it's okay, because the next take could be the great one, or it might all suddenly click. And the other great thing I got from advice, which I think is a good thing to always pass on, is it's the process. So when you're doing a performance on stage, it's always going to be in process, if that makes sense. There's never going to be a right and there's never going to be a wrong. There's going to be sometimes something that connects more and that the audience responds to more. But even if you get bad reviews, you've got to go on the next day and perform, right? And you're going to have to do a whole run. So, and don't read the reviews.
Yes.
You will find out. You'll hear bits and pieces. That's just inevitable. And it'll be good. It'll be bad. But you've got to be true to the performance, and it is a process. And you can go and see a play on that first night of the run, and then you can go see it 3 months later, and it can have been not great that first thing and spectacular 3 months later. So that's what I mean by never giving up, you know. And also in a career, give it always. Be bold, brave, and jump in.
And people are... I can't argue that. Yeah. I mean, was there ever this is a really tough business, and I'm just curious if there was ever a time when you thought about, you know, stopping or doing something else, and what would that be?
I mean, I've tried to, because I've gone, wow, I've been around a long time, and I started work when I was 14. And there's been times when I go, gosh, there must be something else I can do, but I don't want to do anything else. And it's that simple. I just don't. And I've said it since I was little, like if you're performing for 20 people or you're performing for 20,000 people, it's still the same. And I'm married to a musician who has the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's really, I think it is that thing of you just go, I love it. I love it, even just sitting around doing a table read of somebody's script and seeing if it works and seeing if a scene works and that interaction. And there's been times when I wished I could have that passion for something else. But not in terms of I don't have it for, you know. And people have said to me, do you ever want to direct? I don't have that passion for directing. I maybe could direct one thing that I would focus on, but I work with the directors who have wanted to be a director since they were this big, you know, and that have that passion. That's just me. That's what I have for acting.
We have a question from Brett. Way back there. Okay. Brett's being shy. You choose roles often that require you to delve very deep into depression, grief, suicide, mental illness. Are you laughing because I read that so glibly, or... I'm sorry, Brett, that was my delivery.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
But
I need help.
But it's a good question because actually it wants to know, how do you manage to separate from the emotions after the day? Are you able to leave the work behind, or even between roles?
I am, as I've gotten older. I'm able to go in and go out more with more fluidity, partly because I have the well of emotion and experience of life now that just whoosh, is there under the surface. So it's all there ready to be tapped into, and I can sort of access it and then I can put it away in a box. So that's a good, and that's just the experience of life and the bittersweet aspect of life. But at the same time, there's times when I'm doing a role and it will penetrate my psyche far more than I wish it to. And I don't have a perfect sort of recipe for how to deal with that. So I think that's just the struggle of being an artist, isn't it? So there's times when you go, wow, I'm in a very, very raw, sensitized state. And even for something like this was, because it was maternal, it was very, very good for me. And that's probably what drew me to it. And even though it's sad, it's got a very strong feeling of hope, which I think I responded to. When you're doing something like Rabbit Hole, that's a whole different, because I was dealing with grief and dealing with loss of a child at that stage. It was very, very tough. Something like The Hours was something very different again, because I was in a very, very depressed state myself. So that was strange. So I'm sort of this strange mix of emotions that I use. And then I just did a thing called Big Little Lies for HBO, which was dealing with domestic violence. And that was unbelievable, because I was doing the scenes and they're very graphic and very intense, and I didn't realize what I was doing to my body. And I would come away, and I went home one night and my back was covered in bruises. And not because the other actor had done anything wrong, but because I'd been throwing myself around so much and I didn't feel any of it. And I was just so in it. And my husband saw my back and he was just mortified. And he said, I want to take a photo. And I'm like, no. Because he said, you got to see your back. Because I couldn't really see it. And that's when I went, wow. There's times when you just throw yourself into things and it's too much, too deep, and then you have to learn it's like walking a tightrope, you know. And that's why I always say I'd never be a good acting teacher, because I don't actually know. I'm not quite sure what the advice to give on those sort of things. Yeah. I've had fantastic acting teachers myself who have helped me navigate through, And that's another piece of advice I say: find your mentors, because you need them. You need people that believe in you, and that are going to stand by you, and that are going to mentor you and help protect you.
And I have to imagine playing someone like Sue must at least be like a nice headspace to be in, because she just so embodies love. I mean, I don't know her, but I feel like I do after seeing the movie. And like, just what a wonderful person to get to be.
Yeah, and to be able to express someone's deepest, innermost secrets, and that vision for her and those things, and also the way in which the family was fractious at times, and she was the mother, she was the glue, she was the one that was like, no, we are keeping this family together. And that is, I was really, really glad to be able to play that and show that. I've had my own mother say that. I am the mother of this family, and I'm keeping, you will listen to me. And we do.
Has Sue seen the movie?
She's seen the movie.
Were you there?
No.
Oh, okay.
But she's written to me, and I'll see her in Sydney. We're going to do a premiere in Sydney.
Oh, that's amazing.
For her and for the family. And
amazing.
yeah, and Saroo as well. He's seen it.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's a gift to be able to have them see it and for them to embrace it.
Well, again, I want to congratulate you on making me cry so hard, but also a beautiful movie. Thank you guys for being such a great audience. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for coming out on your Sunday night.